Sanmonani, Molweni, Dumelang, Absheni, Goeienaand, good evening everyone, and welcome to Poetry Africa 2019. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presence. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to our lovely poets for traveling all the ways they have traveled to reach us this evening. My name is Kwezi Becker, and I write, I act, I poet sometimes, amongst other things, but tonight I will be your host for the evening, and it is such a pleasure to be here and sharing the stage with such heavyweights. Siphethe o Nigeria, siphethe o Catalonia, the US, Ukraine, Egypt, and of course, abaseningizimu Africa, Southern Africa. And so, we also have, for the very first time, the Center for Creative Arts is running an exchange program with Nigeria. We have 5 representatives from Nigeria at this festival, and later in the year, a South African delegation will be traveling to Lagos to represent. So, can we please all enjoy tonight? Yes, let us share amongst one another this beautiful evening that we have the privilege of receiving every single year. And firstly, I'd like to call up to the stage UKZN, the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Dean of the School of Arts, Professor Nobuhle Hlongwa, to offer the official university welcome for Poetry Africa 2019.
Sanibonani. Ninjani. Siyabonga kakhulu. Let me start by thanking our program director, Kwezi Becker. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Nana Poku, and our DVC for the College of Humanities, Professor Nhlanhla Mkhize Ukabazela, on behalf of the School of Arts and on behalf of the Center for Creative Arts, to welcome you on the opening night of the 23rd Poetry Africa. A big round of applause for the Center for Creative Arts. I would like to extend a warm welcome to both our international and local guests, especially our artists. Our international artists are from Egypt, from USA, from Spain, from Ukraine, Mauritius, and Nigeria, as Kwezi has alluded to just now. I would like to do a special welcome to the legendary award-winning poet, South African poet laureate, and activist, Mongane Wale Serote. A big round of applause. Sikhuleka ke kuzona zonke izinyanya zakule ndawo esikuyo njengamanje. Lapho sikhona kwakukwakhangela amankengana kwakuyisigodlo senkosi uShaka, umjokana kaNdaba, usala kutshelwa, usala kunyenyezelwa. Usishaka kaShayeki, unodume ehlezi kaMenzi, ilembe leqamanya amalembe ngokukhalipha, uTekula abafazi bakaNomgabhi, ababeTekula behlezi emloveni, bethu uShaka akayikubusa, kayikuba nkosi, kanti kunyakana uShaka ezakunethezeka. Siyakhuleka esilweni sakwaZulu esibusayo manje, ubhejane ephuma esiqiweni. Now that I have greeted you in this way, please feel at home. UKZN is the home for all. I'm actually now continuing where we left off in 2018, where the focus was on praise poetry. So I'm just continuing there. In 2019, the emphasis is on celebrating our diversity. Enjoy the 6-day program that features the interactions and the engagements within the poets through the campus and school visits, the poetry exchanges, book launches, and evening performances at venues across our city of Durban. Enjoy the Slam Jam competition, as well as the open mic session at the festival finale at the Bet Center. As we celebrate our diversity, I want to assure you that the University of KwaZulu-Natal, the College of Humanities, the School of Arts, the Center for Creative Arts, condemn any form of Afrophobia that we have witnessed in our country. We condemn any kind of violence against women and children. We urge you as artists, as poets, to assist us in coming up with indigenous ways of dealing with issues, of dealing with forgiveness. We know that the Western system of education undermined the indigenous knowledge systems, our indigenous epistemologies. It is time now that we go back to indigenous ways of doing things. Our worldview is communicated through our languages, our indigenous languages. This is the reason UNESCO has identified 2019 as the Year of Indigenous Languages. Before I sit down, I want to acknowledge eThekwini Municipality and the US Consulate as our main sponsor for this festival. A big round of applause for the US Consulate and Masipala. I want to acknowledge the work of the CCA Director, our Acting Director, Dr. Leanne Lutz. A big round for Leanne Lutz. I want to acknowledge the work of our curator, Mrs. Spindile Hlongwa, and the entire CCA team for the excellent work in planning this festival. Ngalawo mazwi, ngiyabonga kakhulu, namngelekile, as we open the 23rd Poetry Africa.
I am an African, embedded in my home address, as I ride the breeze and reflect me in the ocean wave, in its blue and black and light, with a rage and a calm which clutch to the breeze, which explodes, wind blows time away, which whispers the coming of the seasons and the dreams and the nightmares, seeking the expression for the reality of life. These are words of my hero and the eminent poet, one of the many guests for Poetry Africa 2019, Mongani Wali Soroti, who writes about history being our home address. The thing about home is that it is not just a geographical point on a map. It is the somatic and liminal spaces inside us that reach back into blood, bone, and cellular memory. South Africa has a complex and a layered and a painful home address. And more than anything at this time, it is to the artists, our poets, our writers that we turn to offer us navigational tools, to help us write the many maps that we need to find our way home. So on behalf of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and the Center for Creative Arts, it is my enormous privilege to offer the welcome note for tonight's Poetry Africa, the 23rd edition, the place where we welcome our guides and navigational map writers. At a time in South Africa's own history where we sit within the confluence of decolonizing our historical, political, and cultural relations with the Euro-American axis, where we are being forced to renegotiate our place within the African continent, and where continued and escalating gender violence consumes us, we embark through this festival and all our CCA festivals on using this cultural and artistic space as a place of memory and of speaking truth to power. To borrow from Soroti, we take time to remember and be reminded that history is our home address. Poetry Africa 2019 offers a rare moment of bringing together dissident and challenging spoken word artists who celebrate a community of like-minded alternate thinkers who remind us all of the power of the pen and the word as a weapon for change. We celebrate the 16 poets who have joined us and who will spend a busy 7 days in Durban in a series of readings and performances and a full range of workshops and forums that engage a very broad spectrum of community, from our own university students to schools to KZN rural and urban communities. As Durban is also the UNESCO City of Literature, Poetry Africa 2019 continues its legacy of opening the doors of learning, culture, and artistic expression to all within the home address of our city. For 2019, amongst a range of globally recognized poets, we are especially pleased to welcome a very strong contingent from Africa. Within South Africa's own ongoing and more recent shame in the xenophobic attacks against foreign nationals, our fellow Africans, we specifically dedicate Poetry Africa to the ongoing belief that our poetic voices, our words, and all our art is the fabric of healing and of shifting mindsets. Poetry Africa 29 heralds the start of a long-term relationship, as Prof has just said, with Nigeria as we begin an extensive exchange program that links poets from West and South Africa. Our artistic and poetic weapons against forgetting is to continue to be a space that wields the cultural weapon of memory, to be reminded of the real meaning of home. I take this opportunity to thank our many partners for coming on board to keep this festival alive and for flourishing. First and foremost, I acknowledge and thank the University of KwaZulu-Natal, our DVC for the College of Humanities, Professor Untitled Chapter, our Dean of the School of the Arts, Prof. Nobuhle Hlongwa. I acknowledge with gratitude our key funding partners, the eThekwini Municipality and the Arts and Cultures Division. I thank Durban Tourism for our partnership for 2019. Thank the National Department of Arts and Culture. And a very profound and gracious thank you to the Durban US Consul for being key partners, not just for this festival, but for all of the CCA's work for 2019. I particularly welcome Sherry Sykes, the US Consul General. My gratitude and thanks as always to the dedicated staff of the Center for Creative Art for the hours of work put into making this beautiful festival happen. And specifically, I acknowledge my sister, Sipindile Hlongwa, who has led the inspired curatorial charge for Poetry 2019. I end with the most important welcome, and that is to the wordsmiths and poets who grace this festival with their words, their ideas, and their vision. Thank you for taking time to honor our university, our city, and our festival with your presence. May we graciously thank you for the poetic maps written and rewritten that help all of us find our way back home. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Professor Hlongwa and Dr. Lutz for opening the gates to this world that is this festival. And without further ado, because we must keep the ball rolling, to kickstart tonight's events, we are going to start with some music from Babumbuso Khoza along with the UKZN Amahubo Ensemble. Welcome to the stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mbuso Khoza, and with all due respect, I am sitting down because my health is deteriorating. The doctor wanted to admit me today, and I said, no, I have to be here. At least I die on stage. I wish to thank the University of KwaZulu-Natal and Rumelon Foundation, Artist in Residency, for inviting me to teach Amahubo, Dr. Opondo for showing so much love and respect for our diversity, because we are taught to tolerate diversity instead of celebrating diversity. Why Amahubo? I have been a laughingstock to some departments when I was presenting, When there's hip hop, man, why would you bother us with such old music? When Mozart was performing for the kings as a slave, us in Africa were performing for the kings as regiments. We were performing amahubo. So amahubo are the scroll of the nation, also serve as the prayers of the nation. When I say a scroll, for instance, if we say, Sussex and go 4 o'clock, immediately are reminded of that occurrence. This is why it's important to safeguard amahubo. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I may have to ask the last question. What is the distinction between history, culture, heritage, and traditions? History comes in as an intervention to document history, occurrences. Later, culture is born, traditions are born, and this is why, as Black people, we grow up with so much stabilities in our lives. Later, when those cultures are outdated because of geographical positions and traveling, we safeguard them and we call them what? Heritage. Amahubo are our heritage. Kwathi kwakhala umagazini esilungwini, bathi simpi nasiya, bathi siyomqalo, siyongena ngosimpi eshe eshe siyongena ngomnyama, siyongena esandlwana eshe siyongena kuvaliwe eshe eshe umagazini esilungwini bathi siyongena komthashana bathi heshe olishisi bathi nasiya heshe. Thank you so much. I shall leave the UKZN Amahubo ensemble to continue with what I taught them during the workshops. Thank you.
Sibonga abantu abafana noBabkhoza who keep this kind of stuff alive so we continue to live it, not only see it on stage. Sibonga kakhulu the dedication and the work that goes into this. Sekuyazwakala ukuthi seningizimu manje, ukuthi siKwaZulu-Natal manje. Let us begin with the main course of the evening, our poets. To keep the evening moving, I will not read the full bios tonight. Therefore, if our poets would like, feel welcome to just give us a one-liner of info about yourself before you begin, should you feel so inclined. Otherwise, if you just wish to let your poetry speak, we're happy to receive. First up, we have Bash Amuneni, who is a Nigerian poet and performer whose works explore humanity's capacity for love. He is the author of the poetry collection, There is a Lunatic in Every Town, a TEDx speaker and a member of the Abuja Literary Society. Please welcome to the stage, Bash Amuneni.
Good evening. It's amazing. I feel great. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you, South Africa. Talking about homecoming. Strangely, my poem is titled Homecoming. Yeah, it's important we all find home anywhere in Africa, really. Yeah, anywhere. Yeah. I'm thinking of relocating to Durban. Okay, so I have 4 minutes. Let's move forward. I have come back home to the sweet scent of dust and pureness of waters drawn from your guts. The weeds near the clay fence, they creep in green, with tendrils fresh and flourishing off a river down that gentle slope where soft brown pebbles and laterite tickle our souls, and memories were molded in the wind with naked palms, laughter, and sweat. I have come back home, where we bragged over muscles of pounded yam and chunks of stewed meat to be the best men the land will ever see. We starched courage in our hearts. We traveled distant lands to earn the fatness of skills, but just so we could come back home, dead or alive, to this yard quirky pose that is just enough, against a frugal text coat for backdrop, always uncertain and pale like the weather looming over this place. We'll front this attire's butts at the corner in the evening market. Our girls would angle their hips in sensational appeal as they catwalk on these muddy patches, always unleveled and uncertain like the terrain bedding this place. But you see, these dreams do not care from whose quilt they are born. It could be off a tuft of soft feathers or bamboo hard like corn resolve on metal rolls, steam up gums, chew, paper mash and grip, a little piece to the insignia of these truths. So I have come back home to the sweet scent of dust and pureness of waters drawn from your guts. I have come back home.
Thank you so much for allowing us to travel distant lands with you. Next up, we have Ubusisiwe Mahlangu from South Africa. She is a writer, a performer, a TEDx speaker. From Mamelodi, she made sure to mention to me to articulate properly, Mamelodi, not just South Africa, Mamelodi, sharp, Pretoria. Poetry is how she is learning to be brave and fearless. Her work is hard-hitting and raw, holding space for conversations around poverty, mental health, education, violence, and healing. Please welcome to the stage, Busisiwe Mahlangu.
Sanibonani. Ninjani? Nami ngiyaphila. So yeah, I'm from Mamelodi. What did you judge? Ogadare. Let me do poems. One poem, no expectations. The water is boiling. Won't you make some tea? My baby sister will ask, with lightning striking from her chest, carving anger, her throats filled with trumpets screaming, because the truth will always be a lie. If not a lie, then it will always be a knife cutting through her heart. Outside, the water has been eating flames for more than an hour now. Our fire is a phantom star about to close its eyes, but we have to keep the fire burning. The wise man might miss the stars, but the flames will let them know that we've been waiting on God for years. And we've been waiting on God. My sister is 7, and I am 11. Our house has been standing on our young shoulders for years. The August wind bumped on the side of our home. Our shaking shack is now handicapped on frozen wheels, not moving. We cannot afford to move. So we wait and hope that those who can will find us here. I hope you find us here. But when you do, please do not ask us to dance for you. We lost our legs to the cold. Poverty ate away our feet so we don't follow the footsteps of our parents. You want to know why our food is always dirty? We plant our fingers on wet soil to grow extra hands to put food on the table. We cannot offer you a glass of water, but you can take our sad faces for your thirst. We don't chew bones under this roof. There are broken pieces of ourselves lying everywhere. You might choke on our blood or stumble on our rib cage, but don't tell them that we are dodging death every evening. That the candle watches us with caution. The dead bodies that have bent down with the squatter camp will beg us to wake. Wake up. Why won't you wake up? Wake up. It's because we are scared of drowning. There's a hurricane in the kitchen, cooking up a storm. I did not come to this stage by choice. I was swept by the tide while sleeping, and I've been sleeping for too long. I don't want to wake up because I'll have to watch myself die if I do. Tell my sister that I cannot change water to tea. Tell her that I've got snaps and applause when all I was asking was a loaf of bread. And all I am asking is a loaf of bread. A mother in your pockets, a father under your jacket, salt in your hands. Now what about that loaf of bread? Well, I don't need it anymore. My body has built a home out of hunger. It's standing by the side of the robot saying, please. Because maybe these words, maybe these stories are worth nothing when we tell them ourselves.
Sisi from Mamelodi, these words are worth plenty. Efe Paul Azino from Nigeria is one of Nigeria's most well-known performance artists and poets. In 2015, he co-founded West Africa's first international poetry festival, the Lagos International Poetry Festival, which he currently directs. He's also the director of poetry at the annual Lagos Book and Art Festival. Please welcome to the stage Efe Paul Azino.
Good evening, everybody. It's such a pleasure and an honor for us to be here. We almost didn't make the trip in the light of the violence that broke out, which we're all familiar with. We were very concerned. We wanted to cancel in protest. We wanted to cancel out of fear. But we've been looking forward to this. One of the most important fixtures of this year's festival is this particular exchange, because I believe our two countries share so much richness in culture, so much richness in history. And I feel there's so much also to gain in our continued interaction. And I think artists have a responsibility not to fail where our politicians have failed. So we decided we were going to come here. We're going to come here to remind you that you're our brothers, you're our sisters, and that we are yours as well. And that we love you, and that we bring you greetings, angry greetings, warm greetings, uncertain, confused greetings, but greetings nonetheless from Lagos. Let our voices ring, soft and strong. A million rainbow thongs pushing our songs through the wind. Let our stories dance out in step with the moon. Let them boom from hamlets in Soweto. Rise through the sprawls of Cairo, straddle the contradictions of Lagos. Let them tell of sweat and fear. Of backs bent to carry dreams too heavy for legs to bear. Of old men whose visions of the future tie us to the past. Let our voices come accompanied by djembes, talking drums and all that jazz. Let our stories speak of sex. Of probing thongs and grinding thighs against the Nairobi heat. Of love that rises from the ashes of defeat in Kigali. Tapestries of our humanity woven into different colors of beauty and diversity. This is who we are. Children of histories punctuated by conferences, divided by politicians in Berlin, defended by storytellers in Makerere, united by this struggle to be and prove that we are something more than the soft underbelly of a world perched on the edge of a knife. And time and again, it is to these voices we turn, to remind us that we get past the pain, that we have once chiseled out beauty from mountains of self-doubt, and through the dark tunnels of despair, these stories will lead us out. In Twi, in Swahili, in Zulu, wherever the languages of our imaginations, let our voices never stop ringing. Let our feet dance up spirits. Let our pens conjure the ancient wisdoms of the ancestors, excavate memories to find the civilizations we built before the barbarians barged through the doors, because we are a people too. A universe of multiple dreams written into history, written out of poverty, written to the laughter of thunder, written in lightning, written by a million rainbow voices that never stop ringing. Thank you.
Our stories are speaking here tonight. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Guillem Cavada from Catalonia. He grew up with the rapturous speed of a millennial in his brain on the banks of the chemical Rio Sec, sweet and fast. His poetry has been translated into Spanish, English, Turkish, and Greek. Since then, his verses serve as packaging for everything that disturbs him and defines him, always based on the active turbulence of his body. Please welcome to the stage, Guillem Cavada.
Good evening. I have notes, so I don't mess up. I'm so thankful to be here, and it's a big pleasure to participate in this festival that brings together respect and empathy and culture. So yeah, thank you. And I will read a poem in my mother tongue, that is Catalan. Thank you, thank you. The poem is called Devil and talks about identity and those things. Em rapaven la infantesa atabalant com la calda font de les cerveses un migdia. l'agró. Em rapaven i em rapaven la infantesa com una angina entotsolant-me la tensió que em vidria els banyadors curts esbaldregant-me i sorra de nit endins de les sabates un cor tan tort, tan contrafet. I encara eren ulls garretivant-me tot dins meu amb un cos d'infant. Em rapaven la infantesa atabalant com la caldefont de les cerveses un migdia. L'agró em rapaven i em rapaven la infantesa com una angina entotsolant-me en la tensió que em vidria els banyadors curts esbaldregant-me i sorra de nit endins de les sabates un cor tan tort, tan contrafet i encara eren ulls garrativant-me tot dins meu com un diable amb cos d'infant. Em rapaven la infantesa amb l'agró com la caldefont de les cerveses un migdia. L'agró que duia dins, l'agró sense malícia excessiu cap on el mal, l'agró i jo tan pur i no saber el mal que em surt dels ulls passant damunt les coses. Com un asma cruixint-me, una vergonya, com un greu arreplegat. Jo tapi endins de mi d'un porus. Si tot l'amor se m'engorja dins l'estretor de les sabates, potser era que em rapaven la infantesa atabalant amb un sexe que se'n fot glop de xarop per curar-me tot el mal, tot l'amor que té un infant, tot el greu i tot el vici quan es mira així al mirall. Si sabés que els ulls hi tinc el mal, si sabés que el mal em surt dels ulls i les coses que s'embruten quan les miro. Jo m'embruto quan em miro amb un mal que ve dels ulls passant damunt les coses. Com un frec, com un riu, com l'amor tibant-me al banyador, brut, com la calda font de les cerveses un migdia. Thank you.
You know when someone speaks their mother tongue like that, and you understand even though you don't understand. Kodwa ngiyakuzwa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now we have to come so we can hear the translations as well. Next up, we have Joel Francis from the US of A. He's Haitian-born, Brooklyn-raised storyteller who wishes to share his vista as a Black writer and tell stories of love, family, and race through that lens. He believes that the artist is the architect of humanity. His writing is a search for God, love, and community. Please welcome to the stage, Joel Francois.
I'm really happy to be here, thank you. We were liars. Even when we gave it all to God, we kept a secret or two. We learned not to talk about the things we lost, or how far away heaven was. My sister went to the hospital pregnant and returned with no baby. She called me. She told me to get rid of all of the sonograms, and her daughter went from dead to didn't happen. We were liars. My mother could make I love you sound like, boy, go get that belt. She could make an entire meal out of salt water and eviction letters. She could iron another woman out of her husband's shirt. She taught us that forgiveness is a good place to hide a scream. We were children. We learned to play next door while our house was bleeding. My mother was screaming loud enough to wrinkle the wedding photos. Love was the longest true or false question ever. Divorce was never a conversation we were in the right room to have. We were liars. I tried to ask my sister about the suicide notes in her diary. She said happy or hurt or heal, like happy hurts healing, or hurting happy heals, or healing happy hurts. My sister accidentally took too many Excedrin, but not enough. At the same time, she wanted to make that night her last sleepless one. We were liars. We pretended that those were actually sleeping pills because we were too young for questions about which colors to be worn at the funerals. We were liars. We waited for people to die to speak to them. My father put his wedding vows on a one-way flight, and his plane may as well have been a casket, because we learned to bury all of the things that leave us loving him with our backs turned. See, we lied till we were old enough to drink, and we drink until it's funny enough to cry, and we cry until it's sad enough to forget that babies who are born crying leave their mothers breathless, but babies who are born breathless leave their mothers crying. My sister never talks about her daughter, and I am afraid that she will whisper her name into the ear of an oncoming train. I know now that prayer is a teardrop in a smoke-filled room, that babies die, that life is short no matter how much your eyes water, because I have prayed and the heavens have erupted in laughter. I've called on God. I've called on God, and he has answered with the echo of an empty room, and silence is the closest that I feel to him. Some days I am quiet. I am a welcome mat laid neatly outside of a collapsed church. I am a liar who let everything he went through just unhappen over time, who learned that the best way to tell the truth is to change the subject. Thank you.
And sometimes there's no need to comment. Thank you. This is why we're here tonight. This is why I host. Jolynn Phillips from South Africa was born in Gansbaai in the Western Cape. In 2016, she published, pronunciation is unngeta, Ting Chang Cheris and Other Stories, collection of short stories, which was shortlisted for the University of Johannesburg's debut prize for South African literature and won the National Institute for the Humanities and Social Sciences Prize for Best Fiction. Welcome to the stage, Jolynn Phillips.
Goeienaand almal. Ooh. I speak Afrikaans in a time when they shout at me, you are speaking the language of the oppressor. I speak Afrikaans in a time when they tell me to go and find my tribe. I speak Afrikaans in a time where they tell me that I'm too yellow to be white, that my hair is too curly to be black. I speak Afrikaans because I was born with it, and it's the only language that I can dream with. And I won't apologize for it. I speak Afrikaans in a time when it is necessary for you to remind you that this language comes from slaves, comes in boats, comes from Tam, comes from Nguni, comes from all of us. So ironically, the poem I'm going to do is in English. And Afrikaans. Top systems merry-go-round. My father comes home to midnight. The top system inflames his veins black. A haunted wine stock drunk in a ditch, 6'6". He is the comely cursive of every name on every bottle, every end of the week, licking the liquor of his labor, lingering on the vineyard's hiss. This is the story of the unrequited papsak and my fermented butter. I am his crop chasing and racing, running relentlessly from the methylated phantoms that rove me in his rotten grape season, strutting like a sot, planting the dormant barefoot grape in the early spring brae, bearing a grey rot. Pressing the crush, the harvest crush of a bloodline sarpa, and I parallel carry on the rotten grapevine crown. Our father hallowed in Golgotha's grape churn and turn around, merry-go-round the dope system's dole. Oh, the merry-go-round goes round and round, the perpetuating papsak and my star-crossed butter.
Thank you for painting those images for us. Ululega Mhlanzi from South Africa is a performing poet, actress, creative writer, and a youth activist who is currently based in Pietermaritzburg. She envisions her wings spreading further after finding that not only is she addressing underlying issues and finding healing for herself, she is also healing, moving, and inspiring other people as well. Welcome to the stage, Lulega Mhlanzi.
Hi, everyone. Oh, it's so beautiful to be this side, eh? It's beautiful, I won't lie to you. I'm gonna do a wedding objection. I cannot begin to imagine how glorious it must feel to be in the center of such a glow. What happened to us? You have always known when the sapphire of your eyes have pierced through my clouds. This is how you asked me to land my insecure feet on your marble floor. Taught me to trust you to help me dance. I learned all of those tricks on how not to fall if it wasn't for you. For some time, I was certain there was something in the air for us. I can still feel the grip of your hand that held all promises of love ribboned in infinity. My breath knows the pace of your heartbeat, beat by beat. You know they were once parallel because of the many times you've raised my hair strands and I had shown you where I hide my treasure. Do you remember when my lungs could only take your air because I had problems with trusting my solitude? You know I'm a day's time frame, a puzzled lightning, confused whether I'm here to lighten or frighten my gods. But you know I've been trying to stop the hurricane raving inside my chest, and every time you pressed my spine on the cold door and fed me promises, I believed you. That is why I stopped breaking up with you even when I knew that you had skeletons too. When I woke up today, I was hung over by the argument we had yesterday about how my beauty escapes me when the world needs it the most, when you need it, about how I speak so fondly of myself in your night of demons, about how there are stones in my body I can't replace with diamonds, about how there are seeds of self-hate society planted within me, about how they grew into very visible scars. You did not make it to my pity party, and when I got here, I had already downed all my tears because I barely gave permission to my hurting. You should have not guitared yourself into my chest if you had no intention of making music for my forever. And I should have not looked into your mirror. All it taught me was lies. I object to your wedding today. Not because I want you now. I am more concerned about her. I know your gods too well. I know how to settle your crown. I've put your hell to rest for a couple of times, and goodness, she has no idea of the ghost she is locking her soul into. Thank you.
People are gifted out here. People are gifted out here. Next up, we have Muafrika wa Mokgati. Muriel Mokgati Mvubu, known by her pen name Muafrika wa Mokgati, was born in Mamelodi and is currently based in South Africa. She is a multifaceted artist who is a writer, author, poet, performer, theater actress, isingisi sometimes. This English language, theater actress, translator, cultural activist, teaching artist, arts codes adjudicator, band leader, curator, award-winning radio presenter, producer, and a serial civic leader. Welcome to the stage, Muafrika wa Mokgati.
Heretsanaka mafuri raitsibisha. Heretsanaka mafuri raitsibisha. Heretsanaka mafuri raitsibisha. Ke nna Moafrika. My indigenous inhabits makes me more proud of being an African than ever. My wholesome life and everything about me oozes with Africanism. Ke nna Moafrika wa mmakgonta kgodia kgokgo ka re ke Moafrika. Mantshonyana ngwana tlalona la go natha ka re ke nna Moafrika. Ba re Moafrika re o kwele o ikana tau o nyaka eng ka dikobong. Ka re pelo ya ka ithupilwe. Ke lebetse ka kiba ya gešo ke bontšha bakgekolo dithogolo pelo ithupilwe. sengumvubu ngumakhasane ngumgasela silo samanzi pelo e thupilwe leleme lona le re ke mopedi thui nna setlogolo sa ngwako wa go ja dinonyana ditlhogo fa bašimanyana kgaitšedi a masogana le makgarebe sephološa dikwata nna setlogolo sa modiba mmalefokana wa kgothwana marawa magolo thobela moletangwedi ke moleta leswi swi 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 ke moleta leswi swi ke moleta leswi swi 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 swi. My brother skinned his tongue to taste English better. Hand rolled the pink leather to erase his uncivilized mother tongue. Tongue twisting without papalayas. Bland, bitter, and barbaric. Is our mother's tongue's inches shorter to live longer? Dying out in code mixing, code switching, and code forgetting? Is it too gray to be tasted by 15 generations after us? Etiquette lurking for the 21st century. But how thick are our tongues to choke us in sleep ampere? But my brother peeled it all off. He desires more English. 11 a.m. tea with scones. Its antithesis too confusing. Assonances a reminder of foreign missionaries in our homeland. Nostrils too open for its accent. The jargon too heavy for his lungs. Vocabulary too early. His language is dying. He wants more and more and more. My brother's tongue is no longer growing back. And what a mission to restitution. But our mother is gone. In vicious circles, her children without a home. Generations have lost their lineage to her roots. She has left, packed her syllables, neatly folded her idioms, gathered her proverbs in a donkey cart. She is gone. She took the longer route, leaving deeper footprints, hoping that we will soon follow. Mother loves her language saturated. She says delusions are delusional to our tongues. Her last words were an X on a page she used the night winter had arrived. She was spellbound by smoke, ink kissing fire. She liked how it sparked. Mother loved twinkling things. She could not read, but wise. And she could not have read this poem in remembrance of her lost children. And I am last of 54. Tobe.
I thank poets for unfolding the beauties of language like this. Next up, we have Professor Mongane Waliserote. Baba Waliserote is one of South Africa's heavyweights. Was born in Sophiatown, educated in Soweto, and later at Columbia University. Together with Oswald Mjali and Sipho Siphamla, he is among the most prominent South African township poets. Serota's poems contain a strong element of political protest. He was tested to the limits and endurance in 1969 when he spent 9 months in solitary confinement, though in the end was released without being charged. His awards include the Ingrid Jonker Poetry Prize, a Lifetime Literature Achievement Award, and Third World Express selected for Africa Book Center's 100 Best Books of the 20th Century. Please welcome to the stage Ubaba Mongani Wali Serot.
Because it has been such a beautiful night of truths, I want to ask that we never allow anyone to separate men from women, that we must hold our dialogue in our own right. We must also never allow anyone to separate the young and the elders by any means. We should also refuse to be told that South Africa is not part of Africa. We are Africans, all of us. I am going to read a poem, praise poem, to one of the greatest leaders, statesmen of our country, Oliver Reginald Tambo. Rolling footsteps of workers on rubber wheels sliding on gravel or tar, the masses, OR, giving their sweat and lives. They have been giving their sweat and lives. They have died in many senseless wars, those First and Second World Wars, men at war, women and children, lives emptied by bombs and mortar, raging rifles and machine guns, or chewed to soot in fruitless and furious furnaces. The civilized pretend never ever to have known about these wars they created. We ask why they created the wars. Greed, avarice, to the extent of even eating human life and human blood. Done as we were by wars, even liberation wars, I wonder why we could not have spoken to each other, as do birds early in the morning as they mate among trees to save their species which are coming. How couldn't we have learned from those little hearts that life is life and it must be lived? Thank you very much.
Inhlanhla engaka namhlanje. Inhlanhla engaka. Oh, we are blessed. Next up, we have Nadra Mabrouk from Egypt. She is a poet from Cairo, Egypt, and is now based in the USA. She is the recipient of the 2019 Brunel International African Poetry Prize and the 2019 Poets and Writers Amy Award. She holds a Master of Fine Arts from the New York University Creative Writing Program, where she was a Goldwater Fellow. Please welcome to the stage Nadra Mabrouk.
Thank you all so much for being here, and it's such an honor. Thank you to Poetry Africa for bringing us together. I lost the page of my poem. Oh, here it is. Brother as younger self humming. The streets of Shobra are still traced with music from years ago. children ripping the clothes off lines, pins scattering in a rounded clatter of sharp-throated wooden notes. It might have been a merging of Muhammad Fuad and Muhammad Muhi or Muhammad Fauzi, and my brother, also a Muhammad, is sitting in the shimmering corner of our grandma's balcony with one leg up. He wants to finish this one song because it has his favorite parts, which he has rewound a few times now. And Mahmoud is downstairs again, yelling, holding a peeling board game they taped together. And my brother's eyes glint over to the chorus, remembering how Mahmoud once told him how his father comes home only once a month, and he feels bad he is taking so long to go downstairs, but this would be the last time he rewinds the song Mahmoud. Wallahi, he yells, the cassette player's volume on high, but not loud enough to drown out the street market prices, the chatter of bent men at the coffee house, their fingers caterpillar-like through the mugs, blowing on clouded tea, but the music is just enough to shroud it all in the blur of a filmy fog that Mahmoud can hear, and he can't help but remember how sometimes at night, if he closes his eyes hard enough, he hears the din of keys against the door, the whistling of a man nearly always caught in the middle of an unfinished song. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those lovely words. Next up, we have Black Sash from South Africa. Shashis Melane, commonly known as the Black Sash to her peers, is a performance poet, rapper, writer, and student based in Verulam, KwaZulu-Natal. Relatively young to the industry, the Black Sash is dynamite in a small package. A fearless writer who addresses issues such as race, misogyny, and politics. There is nothing the Black Sash cannot write about except love. Welcome to the stage, Black Sash.
Okay. How you guys doing? I'm good too. 3 years ago, I was preluding on the stage. So on the topic of homecoming, I'm going to recite the poem that I opened with 3 years ago. It's called A Revolution, and I think there's no better time for collective consciousness, and we are all part of the revolution, whether we choose to partake or not, because it is happening. There is a revolution coming. It is coming and an army is rising, so draw your books as your weapon. We need this knowledge for fighting. See, I said there is a revolution coming. It is coming and an army is rising, so draw your books as your weapon. We need this knowledge for fighting. See, we are not perfect, but I bet you that we can be. While we are trying to change the world is taking selfies, visiting fancy places in the island of Maldives, but won't spare a slice of bread for a starving family. Apparently we only break bread with who we starved with. One man's crop is not your harvest. So watch them sow the wrong seeds because they suck at being farmers. Did we forget that we are brothers, sisters, mothers, enslaved by borders, separated by the very same system that bought us, paying back daily debt to a higher order, taken and conditioned, destined for submission? It's the only theory that supports this cause for this division. Therefore, you will not find the revolution on television, but there is a bigger battle than just race. See, if a black man killed a black man, will it still be called hate? Because white people kill white people too, but we don't hear about it because black people are always on the news. Exposing our weakness as humans, they think we are clueless. But thank God for all the libraries and books I've been snooping. See, now the knowledge is oozing, what they're refusing to say, holding back valuable information that could probably change fate. We're not really doomed for disaster. They just want us to fail, to follow existing paths, than rather create our own trails. but there is a revolution coming. It is coming and I can feel it. There's a generation sick and tired of all these diseases that they have cures for, but they choose to conceal it because the more people that die, the less people they need to be feeding. And the food that they feed us slows down the growth of the brain. So really, we're just getting dumber and dumber the more that we age. And of course, you won't see it. I mean, look at how many clones we have these days. Those are test tube babies injected with hormones created to make them respond the same. We need a healing component. And it's my job as a poet to protest with these words and make sure everyone knows it. And of course, they won't show it on television screens. The revolution will not be televised because the revolution will not be seen. A revolution requires teamwork, not a front row dream girl. We need a team of people to help the sick world and make this dream work. You gotta stand up, make a lot of noise, and be proud. I said the revolution will not be televised tomorrow because the revolution is happening now. I said there is a revolution coming. It is coming and an army is rising. So draw your books as your weapon. We need this knowledge for fighting. Bless.
You could have told us that you wrote this morning and I would have believed you. There's so much still to be done. Thank you for reminding us. Next up, we have Titilope Shonuga, who is an award-winning poet, writer, and performer who calls both Canada and Nigeria home. She was the winner of the 2011 Canadian Authors Association Emerging Writer Award for her collection Down to Earth, and she continues to do much more. Her poetry has been translated into Italian, German, and Slovak. Please welcome to the stage Titilope Shonuga.
Good evening, everyone. I am so thankful to Poetry Africa for having us here. All anxieties and fears and angers surrender to the significance of being here in this time, both as a Nigerian and as a woman. So this is how we disappear. We fall backwards into our mother's mouths, become them. Become the only stories we have ever been told, stories about women who stay, women who endure, women who offer their bodies into the belly of the beast to protect their children. This is how we go missing. We tumble into a fist, bones beaten to pulp. We crumble beneath the weight of a man with a hole in his chest, and the vacuum takes us to a place where we are never enough, yet we are too much. Our mouths too big, our bodies too soft, too whole, too much like God, wild things to be tamed. So the wolves come, dragging our screeching bodies from our childhoods, folding our hearts into their mouths. They find us at school, at work, knees bent at the altar or on the dance floor, whether we are a shy whisper or a loud joy, whether we are hips moving free or too small to carry the weight of it. Sometimes they come with a stranger's whisper. Often they come with names that we know well. We call them uncle, call them brother, call them friend, call them on nights when the world feels too big. We ask for a shoulder to lean on, get a fist instead. Claws that peel our bodies open like ripe fruit for the taking, and we try to forget what we cannot forgive. We throw away our names, we shapeshift, code switch, learn a whole new language for survival, teach it to our daughters too. But this time, we come back for our bodies. We come back for our voices. We gather the broken, gather the split and scattered. Anything that still has a pulse, even what is only a shadow of itself, is still worth loving. All that we paid for in our blood, let it come. Let it move with only the skin on its back. We do not look back. We do not turn to salt. This time we are the ocean, come to reclaim everything that belongs to us, swallow anything that refuses to be moved. Ask about us. These women who reinvented joy, who snapped back our broken bones to the rhythm of a survival song, a song about the audacity of living and loving anyway. We become a whole new kind of creature, something fearless and fierce. Something bold enough to call down even lightning and dare it to touch us. Thank you.
My mother likes to call herself a too much woman. It seems there are a lot of too much women here, but too much for who? Maybe too much for you. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Toby Abiodun, who is a poet and spoken word artist born and raised in Benin City. His poetry cuts across the personal, social, and political. Toby is a multiple slam champion, holding titles in major Nigerian cities, including Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Please welcome to the stage, Toby Abiodun.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Alpha. Okay, so, okay, good. When the world tries to question my identity, I tell them that I come from a bloodline of musicians and scribes, a people whose lips rise with the pressure of calling the revolution by its name, whose fingerprints find expression from spelling forth freedom, a people of spirits conjuring spirits, speaking into the ears of light, calling forth the divine, a people who find liberty at night, who choose black as the canvas for the expression of their struggles. We write battle songs with the names of men who named us forever, sad poems with metaphors too deep to find joy. And we sing them with a voice plain like death, pauses running fast like reefs and lips that open into the end. We carry our struggles on our tongues, jaws heavy with the language so uniform you could hear the accent in a crowd. Call us loosed music, the kind too heavy to hang on staves, like the calligraphy of an African child tending to defy space. I tell them that I come from a bloodline of warriors, men and women who stand firm like erections, staring into the face of their struggles, and like the hustle fed us with Viagra, our best is yet to come. We strive to become the best, then we watch the world settle for less, like flat tires. I tell them, they're like having sexual intercourse with excellence. My people are fucking good. We are wolves. We are wolves audacious against the moon. Arrowheads, Alexander's commanding walls to come crumbling before them. I tell them that I come from a bloodline of sorcerers and priests, lords and keepers of the altar of poetry, night magicians spinning the magic of words, every syllable dripping blood. We write ourselves from the ground into the sky. Call us a story building. Like a course carried over, we keep rewriting history. We are the people who make poetry slams look like church programs because we keep getting scores that look like special numbers. We fill our poems with hip-hop effects that gets the people's ears bouncing like bad checks. We make little things appear bigger, like push-up bras. Yes, they envy because we've got oil, we've got gold, and we've got bars. And our presence leaves them feeling like natural hair. They are never relaxed. So when they try to cut us loose, we know it is because they know that we know that they know that we know that they know that we are tight, like 10% of their income. Shalom.
Who knew warriors could tell stories like that? I didn't. Thank you for teaching me. Last on our list for the night, we have Dr. Tim Mccoy Squire. He is a qualified teacher holding a BA, HDE, BA honors, masters, and a PhD. As a widely published author, he has written and published in all genres in isiZulu. Some of his works have been and are prescribed in primary and high schools and also in universities. He has also published short stories and poems in English. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Tim Mccoy Squire.
Some people always think that Hebe is just a war cry. whereas in actual fact, Hebe is a name of a brave warrior during the time of King Cetshwayo. He started showing his bravery during the time of King Bande, who was the father of King Cetshwayo. Bande, being the last of the 4 kings to be from one man, senza ngakhona. When Bande decided that Cetshwayo was no longer going to be an heir, but rather chose Mbuyazwe to succeed him as a king, the children of Malandela split into 2. And Hebe joined the faction. Baba Walesero, did I say faction? Joined the faction of Cetshwayo. So because of his bravery, and he had a stout body, he was fat, so he will arrive late all the time for training, regiment training. So when he appeared, when he approached, because he was well respected and feared, the other warriors will shout, "Hebe!" Because he was siding with Usuthu. Then the others will respond and say, "Usuthu." That is why we say, "Hebe, Usuthu." Laba bantu basahlupheka. Ngimila phezu komfula iShashi. Ngimila phezu komfula iLimpopo. Amehlo ami ngiwaphosele kwelikaMgabe. Elingagabe nampilo nanala. Kuphela ngokuhlupheka nendlala. Ngibona abantu bephithizela ngoba indlala idla owesifazane idle owesilisa. Idla silaza idle fumuka. Ngibabona bebopha imithwalo bengathwele bebhekise amabombo kwelasemzansi ngoba laba bantu basahlupheka. uThemba Qwabe lo ubaba ka ndodakazi uPrimcas akunawo amagama aphelele engane zami. All their names are not complete, just like my size. Primcas basically means Princess Mkabayi Zulu. And I have my sons as well. There is Neroma, which basically means Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. I have another one called Oliret, which basically means Oliver Reginald Tambo. And I have another one called Fikaru, which basically means Fidel Castro Ruiz. I have alerted my wife that the kids are enough now. Marikana is everywhere, where there is power to exploit against power to produce. Where the sullen wrist weep and the ever-increasing target not met, where the voices are muted, or fallen ears that sniff coins and notes, where the underground imminent danger is camouflaged in glittering stones, where weak lungs have replaced oxygen with gas and are immune from side effects, hence the statistics always appear perfect, with no tuberculosis-infected bodies, with no broken bones, with no dead sons, with no paralyzed daughters. Marikana is everywhere. Marikana is a universal language, spoken in every country, where there is a fat one and a sweating one, where there is demand and the ever-growing production. Marikana is bowels groaning, hungry lips with faint songs, letters of demand protruding in boxes, tombstones of debt mushrooming everywhere, bodies ravaged and never massaged enough, and young kids in long queues waiting to be swallowed by this anaconda disguised as jobs, careers, and promotions.
Akuve sibongile, Baba. Thank you so much. We have traveled to distant lands, heard mother tongues that we understood but did not understand but understood, the languages of people's dreams. We have come back home. We have started and continued revolutions. And of course, for me, it was also a language lesson, which is the beauty of my work, the never-ending scope of learning. Thank you so much to all our poets for gracing us with your presence this evening. Please don't forget to tag us on social media at Poetry Africa, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, #PoetryAfrica 2019. We'd like to thank the funders and all those involved in Poetry Africa, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the other nights. Thank you so much for being here and coming and making this event possible. And thank you very much for having me as your host. Travel safely back home. Good evening.